It can be simple to believe that we know everything because of the advanced technology we have today. Any of us can study in-depth images of Pluto's surface with a few finger swipes or take a Google Street Study tour of McMurdo Station in Antarctica. The days of mystery are truly gone. But is it? Despite all of our amazing technology, we still have a long way to go before we fully comprehend even some fundamental aspects of our planet. Here are 10 fascinating questions that yet remain about our globe. Stick till the end to discover the shocking mysteries of the world. 10. The unmapped regions of our greatest cities. Off the map conjures up pictures of untamed adventure in far-off areas, like the Amazon rainforest or Antarctica. Uncharted regions of the globe can be closer than you realize. There are still unexplored areas in some of the biggest cities in the world that no one has ever studied. Usually, this is done because doing so would be incredibly risky. One such area is Mexico City's Nezahualcóyotl. It's a mega slum, a vast, incredibly impoverished area with a scant police presence. Others, like the Orangi shantytown in Karachi, Pakistan, have been mapped in basic 2D but are devoid of the details we'd expect to see on a map of a regular neighborhood. Other times, the problem might be brought on by quick economic growth. It is presently hard to map certain districts in various African and Asian cities due to the speed and volume of construction. You might as well give up on ever really charting a dangerous slum when rapid growth takes place there. We risk consequences if we don't chart these areas. The old floating slum of Mekoko in Lagos was destroyed by the Nigerian government in 2012. Its layout, the product of nearly a century's worth of labor, is now irretrievably lost since it was unmapped. 9. Our mysterious unclimbed mountains. We have climbed the majority of the world's tallest peaks in the 160 years since mountaineering first gained popularity. Numerous attempts have been made to summit Everest, K2, Mount Kilimanjaro, and hundreds of other peaks that the majority of us have never heard of. But we have a very, very long way to go before we reach the top of every peak on the planet. According to the Mount Everest Screening Committee, there are infinitely more mountains that have not yet been scaled than there are ones that have. The only issue is that we're not completely certain which one is which. There isn't a centralized database that keeps track of which mountains have been climbed and which haven't. While some are crystal clear, others are hotly contested. In the past, it was quite difficult to bring back proof of a successful climb on a remote peak. Because of this, we frequently have to rely on the testimony of those who have passed away who claim to have reached a summit successfully, despite the fact that they had no strong reason, outside of honor, to admit failure. The records themselves have issues as well. Many, especially by teams from Japan and Korea, have never been made publicly available in English or translated into it. More than that, have never been digitalized. Although their identities are just as enigmatic as the mountains themselves, we are aware of several mysterious peaks that have yet to be scaled. 8. Unknown minerals. Approximately 5,000 minerals are now known to exist on Earth. That's an absurd number, and you could be excused for assuming we found the majority of them. After all, the discovery of a single new mineral in Western Australia made headlines in 2014. We might still have a long way to go before we have the complete set, according to a study conducted by Robert M. Hazen of the Carnegie Institute for Science last year. The number of undiscovered minerals currently found on Earth was determined by his team using a highly advanced statistical modeling approach. They brought back a total of more than 1,500. It's not as unlikely as you would believe. Most of the Earth's mineral species are rare, with the majority only being present in 5 or fewer places on the entire globe. It makes sense that many minerals may have slipped through the crack given the vast amount of land that hasn't yet been thoroughly examined by scientists. Hazen's statistic is intriguing because it only includes minerals that are likely still accessible and still exist. The models that he and his team constructed also monitored minerals that were probably formed, lost, and then found again over time. These lost minerals may be found in vast quantities. 7. Unknown species. Jennifer Owen, a scientist, started cataloging the species she discovered wandering through her suburban garden in 1972. By the end of the 40 years, she had recorded over 8,000 species, 20 of which were new to England. 4 of those 20 were totally novel to science. Owen had accidentally discovered 4 totally new species without ever leaving her house. This brief vignette illustrates how little we actually understand about the creatures with which we coexist on Earth. People constantly discover completely new organisms, frequently in the most unexpected places, because there are so many species of living things in the world. Even though Owen's discoveries were incredible, they are hardly the most unlikely. In Taiwan, Dave Ebert discovered 24 new shark species simply by perusing his neighborhood seafood store. In a package of dried porcini, a mycologist in London discovered 3 new boltus fungal kinds. According to a 2011 estimate, there are 7.5 million undiscovered species on Earth. We had only cataloged 1.2 million at the time that estimate was made. Accordingly, up to 90% of marine species and 86% of land species may be completely new to science. 6. How endangered many species are. You can probably think of a few species off the top of your head because we have brought so many to the verge of extinction. Numerous rhino species, including the Javan rhino, Hainan gibbon, and the Sumatran rhino, are featured on charity appeals, but they are only the species that we are aware of as being in danger. We don't know whether hundreds, if not millions, more of them are alive and well, alive but in danger, or just dead. Lack of resources is one aspect of the issue. The largest database on threatened animals is kept by the International Union for Conservation of Nature. However, as of 2013, they had only evaluated the status of 71,576 species worldwide. That is a minuscule fraction even among the 1.2 million species that we are aware of. It becomes obvious that we don't know the condition of the majority of species when we take into account the 7.5 million potentially undiscovered ones. Finding the creatures in the first place is another problem. There may still be up to 7 Oahu lahios in Hawaii, but no one has seen one since 1985, according to current estimates. They might be extinct or, like the Israeli frog that everyone believed to be gone, they might finally make a comeback. We essentially have no notion how most animals are doing when it comes to their health. 5. Which city is growing the fastest? Even though we are unable to comprehend the animal world, we frequently believe that we have a firm grasp on our own. Simply said, this is untrue. We are unable to identify the city with the greatest population growth rate in the world since densely populated urban areas are so complicated and perplexing. This may appear to be one of those conundrums like how many angels can fit on the head of a pin. But by identifying the cities where population change is occurring most quickly, we may anticipate where the next economic powerhouse may arise and modify our own policies accordingly. There is only one problem. No two methods for calculating a city's growth rate give the same result. According to one estimate, Batam, Indonesia is leading the way with yearly growth of 7.4%. By another measure, Niamey in Niger has the fastest growing metro area. By another, it's China's Xiamen. A city that places first in one list might not even be among the top 10 in another. For the same reasons that make measuring geographic growth difficult when using maps, this is also true. Growth happens so quickly that by the time we have precisely measured one city, all of our information is outdated. In other words, it's tougher than it seems to determine where the planet's future megacities will be located. 4. Which country is happiest? After the financial crisis of 2008, many people started looking for alternatives to GDP as a way to gauge a nation's prosperity. The National Happiness Index is a measurement of happiness that has been used by governments worldwide, from Thailand to the UK. It makes sense in theory because there is much more to life than merely boosting the economy. The measurements, however, are frequently radically incongruent in practice. You may be familiar with Bhutan. Bhutan, a small mountain country perched atop India, is extremely underdeveloped and mostly inaccessible to travelers. It is also renowned for being among the happiest locations on Earth, a claim that has sparked a deluge of articles and magazines arguing that its low-carbon, smoke-free, Earth-loving community should be imitated. The issue is that this lone study used to make the happiest country claim. According to many happiness polls, Bhutan is among the least happy countries. Bhutan might, in other words, either be incredibly joyful or incredibly terrible. Simply put, we are unsure. It's challenging to compare different nations. 2. According to some metrics, Latin America is the happiest continent. Others claim Northern Europe deserves the distinction. It appears that happiness is simply too elusive to quantify on a global level. 3. Unexplored caves. The vast majority of the waters on Earth have not yet been thoroughly studied, but it's not because we've spent all of our time figuring out the land. There are literally tens of thousands of caves beneath us that no one has ever entered. These underground locales aren't even uncommon. According to a National Geographic assessment, 90% of all caves on the Earth remain unexplored. Even if that figure is now a little dated, it nevertheless illustrates how unpredictable the Earth beneath our feet is. The fact that the vast majority of caves are hidden and lack obvious ground-level entrances doesn't help. Even in the U.S., which has been thoroughly surveyed and examined, it is estimated that just 50% of the region's caves have been discovered. This suggests that the vast, crystal-filled caverns you occasionally see photographs of online might just be the beginning. There's a whole uncharted world down there, a dark region cut off from the surface for millennia, if not longer. The future, perhaps even Morlocks exist. 2. The fate of pollution in our oceans. Here's a disturbing thought. There might not be a single unpolluted place remaining on Earth. There may not be a single area of the world left that is fully pollution-free because of the swirling air and sea currents, as well as the millions of factories and billions of cars that are all releasing pollutants into the ecosystem. If it scares you, wait until you hear what comes next. There may never be a clean sea on our world again, according to some scientists. Ocean pollution on Earth may last forever as a result of the 20th century's wastefulness. The cause of this alarming news is microplastics. Microplastics are the minuscule pieces that initially came from plastic bottles and bags and broke off into smaller and smaller pieces. They are currently present in almost every ocean area on Earth, and it is unknown whether they will ever be completely cleaned up. The most pessimistic researchers truly believe that they will endure for as long as the planet's oceans exist. 1. Undiscovered civilizations. You'd have to be quite clumsy to lose anything that big, like an entire civilization, it seems. Nevertheless, our species has accomplished this remarkable feat dozens, if not hundreds, of times. Many of those civilizations, including the Olmecs, have since been found again, but they might only be the top of the iceberg. Some scientists believe that the advent of new technologies has put dozens of long-lost civilizations within reach of discovery, long known for their ability to conceal signs of human activity, the depths of the rainforest. Just ask any of the misguided adventurers who set out in search of the lost city of Z or El Dorado. However, that doesn't mean the rainforests are deserted. On rare occasions, we've caught a glimpse of evidence of extensive agricultural operations or ancient excavations. It makes sense that there had to be a civilization in each region for such massive constructions to have been completed. We could now try to find these long-gone peoples by using drones that have been properly designed to fly over distant rainforests. If we're lucky, we might still come upon remnants of a people from the past that we'd somehow forgotten about. Subscribe for more.